in the varsity 8 with Princeton beating top-ranked Brown, and now photo finishes in the second varsity and the V4A.
And the V4A with Yale turning the tables on Brown as well. So these teams have all come to race. I think all of them have earned their breakfast for sure.
Yale, Brown, and Princeton have all won a race already today in the first 3 grand finals. Princeton wins the Ivy Championship. Brown has taken the second varsity, and then the third varsity, of course, or rather the varsity 4, of course, just going to Yale. And now here in the varsity 4B, Brown the favorite. They were the top seed coming in. They did a very good job in their preliminary heat. They went pretty much wire to wire, coast to coast. And now the battle becomes Brown, Princeton, Harvard, Radcliffe, and then Columbia into a grand final. This is a big race for the Lions as they advance to the grand finals in both the V4B and V4C.
Well, Bill, you know that when you're looking at teams, at least three of whom are headed to the NCAA championships in Brown, Princeton, and Yale, that this league is just filled with talent.
Getting a look at a talented Brown boat. The boating for Brown, the coxswain Zoe Canaris, and Mia Murphy in the stroke seat. Sophia Overall, a freshman, in that seat 3. Then it's Princeton in lane 2, a junior coxswain, also a senior on the bow with Emily Wybe. Harvard Radcliffe is in lane number 3, and they're coxswain by Anna Jasing with Victoria Baisdow, the junior stroke. And then finally Columbia into its first grand final of the day. Columbia coxswained by Ivy Huang. They are stroked by a junior as well and have 2 freshmen in their varsity 4B boat. Looks like Princeton just behind Brown. Harvard Radcliffe still within striking distance, and then Columbia back behind in 4th, past the 500-meter mark with 2:16 and counting on the clock.
Now Brown's at 40 strokes a minute, a full 500 meters into the course.
You're starting to sound like a broken record with these high stroke rates for Brown, 39, 40, 41. We've been hearing it, but you've mentioned it earlier, Dave. They're not as big of a team as a team like Princeton, so they have to oftentimes stroke at a higher rate to make up for the power of the Tigers boat.
It is part of their style. They have always been a high rating crew. They're not afraid of that. They know that they're going to use their aerobic talent to win races. They've got a half a boat length over Princeton another half a boat length over Harvard, and then Columbia trails.
We've got some good symmetry amongst the top 3. It goes back in a descending order, 1, 2, 3, and then back to Columbia in that 4th place spot. Winner of this varsity 4B gets 18 points for the squad. 2nd place takes 7, 3rd place takes 6, and 4th place takes 5 points. Right now the team race has Brown on top with 66 points, Princeton has 65, and then Yale has 58.
Princeton's rowing at 38 strokes a minute while Brown is at 39, so there's no lack of rating in this 4s race. It is a little bit surprising to see how Princeton has adopted a very high rating approach, certainly in the second varsity and the varsity race. They in past years have been really long at the finish and have not been matching Brown on the rating, but today they certainly have been, and that's been working for them.
Ivy League champions Princeton for the Ivy record 15th time after that big win earlier today, their 4th championship in the last 6 seasons. Looking for the team trophy that'll be handed out to the team with the most points accumulated over the day. Brown has the lead with 66, Princeton 65, Yale with 58, then it's Harvard with 41. It goes back to Penn with 38, Columbia with 17, Dartmouth with 17, and Cornell has 14 points.
Princeton is really challenging Brown in this third 500. They put in a really big push at the beginning of the third 500. They moved up a seat or so, and Brown has had to respond. Brown is responding. Harvard's not going away either. Harvard's still sticking within a half a boat length of Princeton. This is starting to look like that 4 race just before us where 3 boats just chased one another down the course. This is quite an interesting race for the B4s.
Harvard Radcliffe, a really experienced group, a junior, a senior, a junior, and a sophomore from the stern of the boat to the bow of the boat in that group for the Crimson and Black and White. And meanwhile, for the Princeton Tigers, good move from their middle of the boat as well as they're trying to gain ground on Brown. Brown has had things locked in since the start. Bears here in their V4B boat, stroked by a sophomore. They have two freshmen in the middle of the boat and a freshman in the bow. So it's a very young Brown group, a group that you expect to hear a lot from over the next few seasons as well.
Well, when we picked this race up, it was about a half a length from one lane to the other, 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm going to say it's about a quarter of a length from 1, 2, and 3. Brown's still on the lead by not very much over Princeton. Princeton just a quarter of a boat length back of Brown, and Harvard maybe a third of a length back of them. This is really tightening up in the final 500. Columbia's been dropped off the back, but the top three racing for medals, you could almost draw a line from the bow balls with about a deck separating each of the crews.
Inside the final 500 with 6:15 on the clock. Brown still leads. Princeton trying to charge home. They're in second, and again, pushed along by a group led by stroke junior Diana Kennelly, freshman Hannah Painter, sophomore Riley McCauley, and a senior in the bow, Emily Wiebe.
Brown's starting to open up a little bit now. They've got 3/4 of a length on Princeton. Brown's high rate starting to have its effect at the end.
It's a young, spry Brown boat. 3 freshmen looking to earn their first Ivy League championship. They'd win it here in the V4B if they can make the finishing push to the line. They have about a 3 to 4 seat lead inside the final 200 meters. Trying to bear down and grid out another 25 seconds or so past the 7-minute mark inside the final 150 meters. It's been this margin most of the way. Brown, Princeton, Harvard, Radcliffe, 1, 2, 3, Columbia in 4th.
Brown and Princeton really fighting for that gold medal. I think Brown's going to claim it.
Yeah.
Princeton with clearly silver now as they just get the better of Harvard in bronze position.
At the line, here comes Brown, and they touch it home unofficially at 7:30 to win the Ivy Championship at the V4B level. Princeton takes second. Harvard Radcliffe takes third, and then it's Columbia rolling home in 4th. Dave, another close competitive race.
Well, that one didn't change at all
No.
from the first 500 on in. You start to think how much expectations play a part of it. If you really come here expecting to win, that's what makes these races so tight. The crew that gets out in front has high expectations. They are going to answer every challenge, just like we saw Brown do in that race. Brown did not look like they were under the most control of the crews out there, but they just simply weren't going to not answer when Princeton came at them.
We'll take a break. When we come back, 3rd varsity 8 grand final. That's next on the Ivy League Digital Network.